Let me just start off by saying that whoever came up with the original art for The Dark Knight Returns has a thing for like chiseled jawlines. I mean, look at that chin. Look at that jawline. It kind of reminds me of that one episode where Squidward gets hit in the face with a door and he becomes like extremely handsome and he has like a chiseled face and like a little butt chin. SpongeBob lore is all over the place. If you get hit with doors in the face, you get really handsome. Fishes are drowning underwater. I don't know what's going on. They're literally firefighters underwater. Does that make any sense? No. Well, when you watch SpongeBob, you have to essentially throw logic out the door. But anyways, all jokes aside, let's get straight into today's video, because I actually wanted to talk about a new Dark Knight Returns action figure. And for those people that have not read the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel or watched any of the animated films, I highly suggest you guys do. It's one of the most iconic storylines. It's definitely not everybody's cup of tea. As I said, the design for some of the characters, they're kind of like big and bulky. And like I said, they're really chiseled. And a lot of people didn't like that. Also, a lot of people didn't like an older Bruce Wayne, you know, a quote unquote older Superman. Although I think he ages considerably different than humans. But a lot of people just were kind of, it was a little bit off-putting for them. And so not everybody loves the storyline. However, it is one of the most iconic, and a lot of people love to collect the first, or I should say just graphic novels for the Dark Knight universe, or the Dark Knight Returns universe, and then watching the animated film, which is, you know, in my personal opinion, one of the best DC animated films of all time. It's right up there with The Mask of Phantasm. Now, I'll be brutally honest with you guys. I do have some experience with these figures. I do have, or not this line specifically, but just that universe. I did pick up the DC Multiverse McFarlane wave that had the horse builder figure. We got a Superman, a Batman, a Joker, and then a Robin as well, and then the horse, obviously. It was a great wave, but I just didn't love the design of the figures. Like, it was single jointed elbows, and the articulation was just, it was there, but it wasn't like really good. It was just kind of like the butterfly joints were there, but they really couldn't articulate forward and backwards. The ab crunch was absolutely horrendous. It just wasn't necessarily the kind of figure or the kind of the style that I wanted for my display. And a lot of the figures, as I said, they're kind of just big and bulky, and they're kind of like semi-articulated statues. This was the early days of McFarlane's universe. I know they most recently re-released, or I shouldn't say re-released, but they had a variant of Batman. It's like a battle damaged Batman, and then it came with the lamppost. I do not have that one yet, but that's one of those that I do plan on picking up. And then they did have the armored suit Batman, which looked phenomenal. But same thing, I just was kind of so busy with so many other collectibles at the time that I didn't pick them up. But those two will kind of essentially complete my Dark Knight Returns universe display. However, I know that Mafex has had that universe, or has been working on that universe for quite some time. They do have the single packaged Batman version, which comes with, you know, a few extra head sculpts, some batarangs. Looks phenomenal. They did have a 2-pack where it's Batman and Robin. From what I've heard, they're two great releases, especially Robin. You just would expect, because it's a much smaller figure, that the articulation would be limited, or they would kind of cheap out on her. But not the case at all. They definitely go above and beyond when it comes down to Robin. The articulation is there. It comes with, you know, wired cloth goods. And so for the most part, I think these are pretty readily available online. You can pay about 90 something for the Batman. And then the 2-pack is a little bit over, like, I don't know, it depends on where you get it, but I've seen it for as low as like 140. It's a great deal if you guys want the 2-pack. And we now have kind of a semi-completed little universe if you're really interested. And if you're a big Mafex person, they have now officially launched the pre-order window for the Superman of the Dark Knight or the Dark Knight Returns universe. You're getting 2 different head sculpts. You're getting 4 pairs of interchangeable hands, and then you're getting an arrow with the kryptonite tip on it. I will say, I actually love the design of this figure. The body mold, I compared it to like comic book panels, and it's not 100% accurate. I do feel like the Mafex is a little bit thinner, a little bit sleeker, but still you can see the body mold. You can see like the bubbly muscles all over. You do get the butterfly joints. It appears that all the great articulation that Mafex is known for is going to be there. It's also worth mentioning, it does come with that alternate like battle damaged head, which I absolutely love. As I said, it's one of the most iconic sequences, the battle between an armored Batman and Superman. It is also worth mentioning it comes with a like a wired cloth cape, which, you know, does a phenomenal job when it comes down to, you know, posing your figure and really accentuating what the Mafex line is all about. I will say the price is definitely up there. It's about like $95 for this particular release. But if you collect Mafex or Mafex figures, whatever the correct pronunciation is for the line, if you collect them, I mean, it is what it is. You're kind of already used to that particular price point, $95. I know some websites are still doing the whole little warning at the bottom of the price point saying that there could be some tariff surcharges attached to this particular figure, but it is now up for pre-order. So if you guys want to complete that little Mafex display, you guys can do so now. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I don't know if they have any other Dark Knight Returns action figures aside from Batman, Robin, and now Superman. There may be some here and there. I don't really keep up to too much with the line, but even if it's just those three figures, I'm sure that, you know, they'll continue fleshing out that display. I will say Mafex tends to kind of stretch out the releases by quite some time. Like, you may get a promotional image of a particular character and action figure, and then you won't see it like in a pre-order window or like on a pre-order page for maybe 2 to 3 years from now. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on Mafex and their official websites. Also, you know, Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth, in case you guys want to see anything new. But it's always exciting to get just new DC action figures in general. As I said before, there may be a little bit of a time frame where we don't get any DC action figures from McFarlane or Mattel because of the whole tariff situation and because, you know, the license is changing hands. So there is a slight possibility that maybe those figures don't get manufactured right away. Like, maybe you have to wait a few months, there's a transitional period, something like that, and this could be a line to get into. As I said, it's only for people that are willing to spend about like $100 per figure. Some of these, by the way, just keep in mind, if it's like Entertainment Earth or Big Bad Toy Store or other smaller websites or online retailers, they'll usually ask for a little bit of a deposit. So I'm not sure if they're doing that here at Big Bad Toy Store, but usually they do it if it's like an action figure over, like, I would say $50 to $60. They usually ask for a non-refundable deposit on the figure just because it's kind of like a big hefty price point, and they have to, I'm assuming, pay up front for the merchandising and to get it shipped over. Whereas in usually, I would say like 99% of all websites, they don't really charge for stuff up front or like pre-orders, and so usually you won't pay for the item until it's like getting shipped to your house. So they have to pay for that up front, and just to kind of like make people feel like they're locked into a collectible, they'll make you do a little bit of a deposit. I completely get it. I mean, it is definitely not a very cheap collectible, and it's something that you definitely have to like sit down and ponder if $100 is too much for you. But it is a really cool collectible. The promotional images don't do the figure justice. I'm sure once we get it in hand, it'll look absolutely phenomenal. Now, the leg and arm articulation look really good. Where I would probably have some question marks, and really the only question marks that I would have for this particular figure would be the head articulation. Like I said, I've never actually owned a Mafex action figure, so I'm not 100% sure. But in the promotional images, the head doesn't appear to articulate like incredibly high. Like, the range of movement is a little bit limited. And then the other thing is the mid-torso. I didn't see any crazy dynamic poses from Superman. I get it, most of his poses are in flight, so it wouldn't make a ton of sense to have like a super articulated mid-torso. But I'm just saying, those are probably the only two like minor nitpicks that I could have for the figure. Aside from that, it looks great. It, you know, some of the poses in the promotional images definitely do the figure or get some hype out there for the figure. But as I said, this is just my personal opinion, my personal take. I'm very curious to see what everybody out there has to say. Do you guys plan on picking up the Superman? Is it a little bit too expensive for you? Have you ever bought any of these Mafex action figures? Do you guys enjoy them? Let me know your thoughts down below. As I said, it's not really a line that I cover too often, but from time to time, if there's something that really catches my eye, I'll talk a little bit about it. Plus, I've kind of been thinking about jumping in on some import lines, whether that's like Mafex or the SH line, or, you know, some like Revoltech. It's been years since I've owned a Revoltech action figure, so those are just kind of minor things that I'm keeping an eye on. So hopefully you guys enjoy today's video. As always, if you guys enjoy just random action figure rambling, then this is the spot for you. We do it on a daily basis. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and I will see you guys in the next one. And before we go, make sure to enjoy the hobby. That's the most important part of all this. Play with your figures, you know, pose them around, take pictures with them, whatever it is that you enjoy doing. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.